Welcome to Being Humans Together. I'm Ian Christopher Wendt. Know yourself, know others, know God. Know yourself was inscribed in Greek, gnothi seauton, on the temple of Apollo at Delphi. Knowing yourself has been a fundamental quest for every human being for thousands of years. Who am I? Who are you? What does it mean to know yourself? These are not simple questions, and there are many answers. This two-part pair of episodes is a transition from our discussion of the importance of relationships and relational knowledge to a discussion of spirituality, religion, and our hierarchy of values. We've completed 2/3 of the topics from Season 1. Thank you so much for taking this journey with me. We are what we think and feel. We are our minds. We are our hearts. We are each ourself. But what does that mean? Is that mind or heart or self different than our bodies? We are what we say and do. We are the sum of our experiences. We are what we remember, though admittedly, our memories are limited, changing, and faulty. We are what we believe. We are what we truly value most and embody in the world. We are our bodies, our sense organs, our brains, our hands, our feet, our limbs. This includes the unique parts, our fingerprints, our physical strengths, limitations, and scars, as well as the physical parts we have in common with most humans. We are our genes in some manner, though it's hard to comprehend what our genes are doing in our daily life. It's difficult to measure or even think about how our DNA manifests itself in proteins and hormones and physical structures, and how that influences our choices and actions. Though obviously these things are very real. This is fundamentally what moves many scientists to argue that we are determined and we do not make our own decisions. They argue that our genes and other people's genes and the random physical environment do that for us. I have rejected that idea in previous episodes as philosophically incoherent and fundamentally counterproductive to meaningful action. But from a more interesting perspective, if we are our genes, then we are also significantly our parents and families and ancestors. That truth is worth considering more thoroughly. We have repeatedly argued here on Being Humans Together that we are also our relationships. We are bound together with our caregivers, the people who taught us to be human, and the people we sacrifice and work for and nurture in turn. We say, I, me, myself, individual, but that seems too limited. We didn't invent ourselves, our language, our ideas. We learned so many of our ways of being from others. We do not experience most things alone. We act, communicate, learn, play, work, and even think together. Each of us is a set of relationships, a set of we's, in addition to being an I. If you doubt this, consider the experience of losing someone very close to you through a breakup, a fight, an end of relationship, a long-distance separation, or a death. We mourn. That loss of relational connection leaves a hole that takes weeks or months, maybe even years to fill. That hole is not just the loss of that person's influence in our individual existence or experience. That hole is a partial loss of self. We cannot be a portion of who we were without them. We mourn that loss of shared self or we-ness. So knowing your people and understanding your relationships is part of the process of knowing and understanding yourself. Many humans also believe that we are our souls, our spirits. What does that mean? Is it more than mind or emotions? How can we know our soul? We'll consider this further in part 2 of this episode. In addition to all of those aspects, we are also each to some degree our culture, our history, our society. So it seems evident that each of us is a complex array of parts that start with our bodies, our minds, and extend outward to connect to many other people, shared experiences, communities, and cultures. How do you know yourself? How do we know ourselves? You know yourself pretty well. You live in yourself and see what you do and know how you act and respond to the environment and to other people. Only you know how you feel and what you think at every moment. No one else really knows those things, except perhaps God. We'll consider that more later. The ancient classical Greek challenge to know yourself is a quest to live an examined life, to be self-aware, to make choices consciously, intentionally, to be present and not simply reactive, to exercise and utilize your will to choose your thoughts, your feelings, your words and actions, to evaluate your past, to improve, to connect with your people, including your living relations and the many lives who extend into the past even before you were born, and to plan and direct your future choices toward your highest chosen purposes, values, and goals, to intentionally participate in the symbolic dance of life through speech, cooperation, culture, and values, to be the best you can be. But you do not necessarily know yourself fully. You know yourself from the inside. You do not know yourself from the outside. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you're almost always looking into your eyes face to face. But you're a lot more complicated than your reflection in the mirror. The people in your life and the world generally know you from the outside, from 360 degrees. Other people, the people who spend a lot of time with you, they know you a different way. They don't know exactly how you feel or what you think and intend, but they see you from the outside, and you're just one of the people they know and see regularly. So they have a lot of context to compare you with and against other people's actions and behaviors. They see what you do and how you behave in ways that you don't see yourself. And they see your expressions and emotional responses too. They hear what you have to say and how you say it. They have a good idea of what you think and feel. They get a good sense of how you measure up, how much they can trust you, how close they can safely be with you, and how much time and energy they want to share with you. Your parents have known you since you were barely conscious. They know you and your history in ways you do not. Your partner, your lover, your companions, your best friends, they all know you in ways you may not know yourself. You are who you know yourself to be, but you are also who they know you to be. And it's entirely likely that there are significant aspects of your personality, behaviors, and character that you're not fully conscious or aware of. Consider this. Think of someone you know well who's very distinctive. They have a strong, perhaps idiosyncratic manner, a strong perspective. They likely have gifts you don't have. They may also have limitations that are apparent to you. They have habits and instinctive learned responses to challenges and stresses and opportunities. They're likely aware of many of those things, but there's also very likely a core set of character traits and responses and actions that are so deeply ingrained in them that they're just background to their thoughts, senses, and behaviors. There are aspects of that distinctive, unique person that are like the air they breathe, like the beating of their heart that they're not aware of, even if you try to point out those aspects or describe them to them. Consider another angle on this. Think of some of the common criticisms that your partner or parents or other close people in your life periodically bring up to you or even complain about that just don't really make sense to you. There are things you do that drive your partner crazy and you barely notice, or you just can't see those things clearly. You certainly find it very difficult to alter those behaviors. In a way, this is the definition of crazy. The ways we are crazy are mostly invisible to us. Otherwise, we'd change them. We all have those things. Core, deep aspects of our character or unconscious ways of thinking and acting that we internalized from our families before we were even self-conscious, or ways that we are blind to our own limitations or foolish actions. The people in our lives put up with those things. Sometimes they try to get us to change, but generally they just fill in our gaps because they love us or support us. So, you are the self that you know, and you're more than that. You're also the person that other people see and know. those aspects of who you are overlap significantly. And the person you know as yourself is a lot like the person others know, but they're not identical. And you're not conscious or aware of all of who you are. There's more. You are also your relationships. You know a few people very well. You know several other people significantly. You know dozens of people in specific contexts through work, studies, friendships, communities, cooperation, competition, and play. We just completed episodes on knowing your people, valuing your relationships, and resonating together, which I won't repeat here. People we know also know us to varying degrees and in differing contexts. Relational knowledge is shared. It is multidimensional. It is also more than the sum of its parts. You know them, they know you. But you and the people with whom you have relationships also know the relationship, the pairing, the teams, the groups. Those relationships have dynamics and characteristics that transcend the individuals who participate in those relations and groups. When we are in sync with our relationships, we can experience flow, shared understanding, teamwork, and even shared thoughts and feelings. The more common this experience, the more we feel known, seen, and connected. Our consistent, resonant relational experiences can give us a deep sense of meaning. As we noted before, we are also fundamentally connected to those who came before us, our parents, grandparents, and deceased relations, even those we have never met or barely remember. We are connected to them both by our genes and the deep relational dynamics we learned from our caregivers. We cannot truly know ourselves without at least connecting with the stories, histories, legacies, and relationships of our families, our caregivers, and our near ancestors. Permit me to share a shocking story that has reverberated through my family across generations. Warning, this story contains references to both abuse and suicide. One of my grandfathers was a boy during the Great Depression. He contracted serious ear infections in both ears and had to be hospitalized. The bills were expensive and depleted his family's savings. Then his father, my great-grandfather, lost his job. Remember, this was the Great Depression. The family was under profound financial stress. It caused a mental and emotional break in my great-grandmother. One morning, she attacked my grandfather, accusing him of causing all of the family's problems. She injured his hand with a pair of scissors. Shocked at what she had done, she apologized profusely, bandaged his hand, and sent him and his brother, her 2 sons, to school. When my grandfather and his younger brother returned home from school, they smelled gas in the house. My grandfather ran through the house, opening the windows to clear the gas. He found his mother dead in the kitchen. She had died of asphyxiation. I cannot comprehend what that experience did to my grandfather. The shock, the grief, the guilt. What did it do to the entire family? Eventually, my great-grandfather remarried a woman who mistreated my grandfather and his brother and gave all of the best opportunities to her own son, their stepbrother. She was the stereotypical wicked stepmother. I'll give just one example. When my grandfather earned a scholarship to NYU after high school, she insisted that he forego college and get a job and devote his entire income to the family, while she sent her own son to college. He did not escape that situation until his mid-20s, when he went to fight in the Pacific during World War II. My grandfather grew up in the context of those terrible experiences to become a gentle giant. He never struck his children. When his wife, my grandmother, threatened the children, "You just wait until your father comes home," they waited in their room. Then my grandfather came home, sat next to them on the bed, and talked to them about what they had done to upset their mother. He extracted promises from them that they would do better. Then he told them, "I'm going to spank the bed and you cry." That's hardly an example of good teamwork in parenting. He clearly undercut my grandmother in those situations, but he was responding to the abuse he experienced from his mother and stepmother in the best way he knew how. That story began almost a century ago, but it affected my family growing up and likely still reverberates in family dynamics through future generations. I could tell many other relationship stories from my families. I'm sure you could also. Those relationships and formative experiences shape ourselves and our relationships across generations. They contribute to who I am, who you are, and who we are together in relationships. So we know ourselves, we know others, they know us. Moreover, we know the relationships and families and groups as dynamic entities as well. In previous episodes on consciousness and agency, I argued that the infinite complexity of our own minds in connection with the exponentially greater complexity of the minds of our family members and friends in relational bonds and networks gives rise to both our consciousness and the ability to choose and act for ourselves. So we know ourselves by examining our own lives, but even more so by examining our webs of relationships. Each of us is a host of we's, not just a solitary I. These are the parts, the complex aspects of who we are: mind, heart, self, experiences, memories, beliefs, values, intentions, body, genetics, past self, intended future self, present self. Next, the person that others observe and know. And finally, the complex web of relationships we each participate in. We know ourselves by examining our actions, past and present, by choosing our thoughts, feelings, words, and deeds carefully and intentionally, and by striving to be better. We know ourselves by listening to the people close to us and striving to become able to see into our blind spots, the subconscious or slightly crazy behaviors we each have and don't recognize. We know ourselves by better understanding our relationships, by seeing who we are together in many relations and contexts. Let me make a challenging point here related to relationships, presentness, and seeing things as they really are. There are admittedly many things in the world that are beyond our control. There are so many other people making their own choices without much attention to your goals and heart's desires. And of course, there are constant shortages, scarcities, and environmental disasters that constrain us, challenge us, and sometimes even harm us and the people we love. It often seems unfair. But first, the most important part of any problem is that part that I can affect and change now and in the future. Whenever we face large, persistent challenges, look for the parts that you can influence and change, and work for that change. Next, I believe that at a basic level, life is its own reward. We do actually make much of the world that we experience. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming you for the bad things that other people do to you. Here's what I'm saying. There are patterns in our lives that follow us wherever we go. There are certain kinds of consistent conflicts that we experience. There are generational dynamics that we experience over and over again. There are frustrations and limitations that we consistently run up against in our world. Do you catch yourself asking, why does this keep happening over and over to me? Consider this. Some significant part of those patterns is from you, from your consistent actions and decisions, from your ways of interacting and dealing with the challenges in relationships. This is the law of the harvest. Whatever we plant, that will grow and we will harvest. But no, we say, I don't control the mean, selfish, unkind things people do to me. Yes and no. Let go of others' faults and the cruel, uncaring universe. Focus on yourself in your present time and place. If there are consistent negative sets of challenges, boundaries, and weaknesses in our lives, we are the most consistent variable in each of those situations. This is definitely an opportunity to learn and grow. Just consider some general examples. If I move from job to job and never get a fair chance to prove myself and get promoted, maybe I'm not dedicating myself enough, or sticking with and completing the dirty work, or cooperating sufficiently with my teams. If the people around me are all selfish, conflict-oriented, combative, or dishonest people, then maybe that lens and those interactions reflect on me as much or more than they reflect on those people. When I try to be more selfless, forgiving, honest, and cooperative, I can alter those dynamics and improve my environment, my experiences, and my relationships. If my world or universe is a meaningless, random, purposeless place filled with people who don't care about me, then maybe I need to change my orientation to find my greater values and purposes, to recognize the people who love me and work together with them to build relationships and improve my world, our world. There are two principles here. First, the good and bad in the world often reflect our perspectives, our lenses, and our judgments. We can make significant changes to our world by changing the lenses we choose. Our orientation and our responses to the consistent situations we face are so important. So first, try to alter our own lenses and perspectives. That can be emotionally challenging, but it may be the easiest, most powerful way to alter the outcomes of significant, consistent challenges in our lives. Choose gratitude instead of grievance. Choose problem solving over complaining and conflict. Second, work proactively to address and problem solve the parts of the challenges that are in your hands, in our hands. And work with your people, with your team, not alone, not against your team. Pull together, don't tear apart. You can even try to get the opposition to come to solutions and improvements together with you. I learned so much about both of these principles from one of my best coworkers named Hugo. I once was on a team working to build a brand new project with a demanding and overly critical client that was continually changing what they wanted. The first project director from my organization struggled under those very difficult challenges. The project was faltering, and we ran the risk of missing key deliveries. Then Hugo got assigned to take on that challenge. His approach to every altered demand or complaint from the client was to listen supportively to the challenges we were facing to get a shape of what was needed, then to identify the immediate things we could do to address and fix the issues. Then we developed proactive plans to move toward our end goals. He supported our team loyally, and he problem-solved each situation with a shocking level of positivity and energy. Others would have gotten bogged down in complaining about the fickleness of the client's demands. Others would have become critical of the parts of our team who ran into trouble with the client. Others would have gotten angry at the client or our team. Others would have complained that these situations were outside of our control. All of those responses would have been understandable, but not effective. Hugo taught me a lot about proactive solutions, positive team support, leadership, and hard work by example. We got that new project up and running. We built relationships with our team and with the client that lasted for years throughout that time the project ran. And guess what? Hugo didn't even get a major promotion. He wasn't even my boss. He got some recognition. That success was good for his career, but he accomplished so much while working side by side with our team. When you face consistent trials and challenges, search for the aspects of those challenges that are in you, that reflect your less effective perspectives, that you can address by your own efforts and hard work. You can't control other people, but by knowing yourself and by being present and taking responsibility for the things you have power over, you can change your perspectives and your world, and you can improve your relationships. You can build teams to move seemingly insurmountable obstacles or challenges. Know yourself. Know your heart, mind, will, limitations, and strengths. Know your people and listen to them when they tell you about your mistakes and your strengths. Try to see those things more clearly, to grow and to improve on all of it. Strive to see things as they truly are. Strengthen your relationships because they are also who you are. You are a complex collection of we's. When we identify consistent challenges, let's try to alter our own perspectives. Strive to open our eyes to our blind spots. Seeing more and seeing better is such a profound victory. And then let's press forward positively and cooperatively to problem solve our challenges with our team of people. In so many cases, life is its own reward. Our consistent patterns of seeing, thinking, and acting shape our world. If we can proactively and positively improve our lenses, perspectives, thought processes, actions, and relations, then we will plant better seeds and harvest better rewards. In part 2, we'll consider how we can better know ourselves by also knowing God. I believe these are the fundamental benefits of knowing ourselves. Remember, this is not about navel-gazing, about sitting alone in a cave to know who we are. We are not alone. We can do this together. Amen, amen. This is the way of being humans together.